Hello, everyone. In this lesson, let's combine what we did in the previous two and finally send an email with a list of all the most liked ideas. We have the list. Now we need a function to send these ideas. All functions for sending anything by email are stored in the emails.ts file. And similarly to these two, let's add a third one. Send most likes ideas email. The input is a user and a list of ideas, mainly needing a username and name. Okay, and it returns the result of calling the send email function. For the user, we'll take their email, subject, and most liked ideas template name. We don't have this template yet, but we will create it now. And for the variables, we add an array of ideas, not in the original format, but in the following format. There was IDS. We go through it using map and return this kind of object. Such an object. It has a name, which is literally id_name. And instead of a nickname, from the nickname we take and create a URL. We need a root to view the ideas we import from the front. We need it to be absolute. And as a parameter, pass idnic, ID, nickname accordingly. So our IDS is an array of objects with name and URL. Okay, now we need to create our MJML handlebars template. Okay, there's an emails folder. And here we create a file. Most liked ideas.mjml. Continuing with the following content. Before analyzing, there's nothing new here besides additional constructs from Handlebars. Handlebars, we haven't covered much in previous lessons, but the idea is that it is a kind of template engine. It takes raw input and uses special helpers that usually start and end with such structures. And before this, we just used it for variable substitution. Yes, that's the most common task. But sometimes we need something more complex. So, like right now, we've passed an array of ideas here. And we don't just need to insert a single idea, but output a list. And for this, there are also all possible constructs. Again, the most common is itch. Itch is a predefined handlebars operator, and ideas are our variables that we passed. And we say that for each element in the array ideas, output this string. This now contains some element from ideas. And from there, we take the URL. And this contains the name. So this is one of those structured objects. That's all. It's just a regular link. URL name. That's it. Okay. We created the template, created it. All right, let's build our emails. How are emails built? Emails are built using the command build.emails. pnpm build. All right, emails are built. Now let's invoke this function where it needs to be called. Specifically here. First, let's do this check. In case our project didn't go well this month and nobody liked. So, and in most likes.ids, it returned, yes, 0. That's it. And that is, if it's 0, then we simply exit this function and won't send anything to anyone. Why send an email? Yes, with an empty list of liked ideas. Okay, and then we need to get all the users. All the users. And we are only interested in their email. Here. And we make a request like this. Look, what I'm doing from line 30 to 35 is not very production-ready code. So, this lesson was more about seeing how to do email loops, well, and how to accomplish what we want to do. But there may be a situation where we have 10 million users. So, loading 10 million users into memory at once is not good. So ideally, you need to study queue management and all that. There. Well, in practice, Yes. Again, if you have 10 million users, well, you pay someone to set up the queue. All right. For launching what I am going to write now, it will be quite enough. If you notice something isn't working, well, as I say, it's a good problem to have. It means your project is successful and something needs to be optimized. And here, well, it's not a big deal. We'll just find all users from the database. Even if there are 10,000 here, it's nothing serious. But 10,000 thousands, that's something. Fine. We fetched all users. And we can basically call it is really wild in terms of being unready for production. We can say that we need to go through now. That we need to go through all users. And for each user, call the function send most likes to this email. Well, we pass the user and likes to this. Accordingly, and simultaneously, we try to send it all to all users. And potentially, hundreds of thousands of connections can open simultaneously. And in this case, it's often said that if you have promises in a loop, call them with promise all. Like with this, we set multiple promises and called them all using promise all. But it's not always true that you should do it that way. In our case, it's better not to do it like that. In our case, let the code run longer, but at least it works and doesn't break. For most users, yes, away. And then emails will be sent one by one. This way is more reliable. Good. So, I suggest dropping all data in our database and trying to create our user again with our primary email and send him this message. Let's see how to drop data in databases. We already studied that you can use delete, like delete from, for example, user. I say, okay, but it tells us that we have a link with the idea, and if you delete the user, it will be a big problem for me. So, there is a second way to delete things from the database. There is the command truncate. We call truncate user, and again we are told that we have issues with relations. So, in truncate, there is an additional magic word, cascade. This means delete the user and everything that prevents you from deleting them. All relations. Now we've deleted them, and all ideas and idea likes have been removed. We go here, go to all ideas, refresh the page, and nothing is there. Unfortunately, we don't even have an admin user, but creating an admin user isn't difficult. It's created when we start the backend. We are restarting the backend, and an admin user appears. Let's first make sure of this. Admin 1.4. Okay, we have the admin. Well, let the admin create ideas. Okay, 1111. Yes, entering protection mode. All ideas. Ideas likes. Well, if you don't like it, nobody will. All right, let's add one more idea and let it be 222 plus around the system. And we'll add a third idea, which we won't like. Okay, good. All ideas. Let's like the first and third ones and call our function to send the email. I created a user, and I created an admin and admin email with the example suffix. Well, let's create a user who will actually receive some message. So our nickname will be, well, let the nickname and manager appear now. What email do we have? We have email ID and nickname manager. Password 104124. Registered. Great. And now let's try to immediately call the function to send. Oh, and let's block again. We currently don't have Brevo APK installed. We did this to avoid sending emails unnecessarily. but now we'll enable it because we still want. Look, it's done. In its natural environment, of course. Enabling the APK and calling. Enabling the function. To call it right away, let's call it where it's possible. This function is executed immediately upon login. Let's call it immediately. So, what happened here? So, an email was sent to the ID and a nickname manager. Then an email was sent to admin at example. Okay, and what's this console? We forgot to delete something, and we don't need it here, but it's here. This console, okay, fine. We won't return anything from this function at all. Okay, let's go check the email. Yes. And here's our email. It says, check out the most liked ideas, their names, and links to them. Click. And here we have undefined for some reason. Yes. Well, we should definitely figure this out. For some reason, it happened here. One moment, okay? Well, I thought maybe I'd troubleshoot the problem live. So we detected it. What are we going to do? First, let's disable the n variable with the Brevo API key to avoid sending unnecessary requests. Because at the end of the logs, we can review everything anyway. That's one. And two, let's check what is actually output in the variable we pass when sending an email. That is, these template variables. They are essentially already being output. So let's just take a closer look at them. Okay, well, all of them are hidden behind the object because console info has some limitations. We need to remove them. Going to send email. Here we have console info. Once we have time, we'll play around with the logs later. We've started optimizing them, not displaying as usual. For now, let's use console dir with depth of any level. Updated. The code restarted. Well, the URL is indeed undefined. Undefined because our abs somehow works incorrectly. At some point, we broke it. Okay? It is generated where we have link generation. Links in the email. Here. Get view ID road. Aha, okay. Now let's console log here. The road for abs should be true. It appeared twice here. Yes, it showed true. Twice for each link. Good. What was our base URL? It should be a good base URL. If it isn't, it's fine. But our base URL is undefined. Why is our base URL undefined? Because there's neither a white web app URL nor a Proxen web app URL. That's it. We've figured out the problem. Well, of course, there's no white one because it's not in the backend. We should have an end variable web app URL in the backend. Is it at the undefined point? Yes, it is. Then why not? I thought I had already figured it out. Okay, in this case, so we're logging these two variables separately to see what's in them and why they're undefined. So base URL is just like that, meaning our second and third values can be wiped out. All right? Called. Interesting. White web app URL is undefined, while Proxen web app URL is not undefined. Let's do this again. We see that we somehow have it here. Interesting. See, this is printed as value, but the base URL somehow isn't that value. And our base URL is undefined. It seems like a strange situation, right? Why is our base URL exactly the same, But somehow this string returns what we need separately, and the base URL doesn't. What's the reason behind this? This is because when we ran this file, these variables weren't in the proxenv yet. But when we called this function, the web app URL was already in the proxenv. So why could this happen? This could happen if we imported our file from backend nf.ts later, then this function. There's a need to import the nf file first of all. Well, specifically, we can solve it here for now. This is a complex problem. We'll deal with it in another lesson. I have planned to, yes, play around with sorting imports. But for now, we can do the following. So, let's go to emails and in index.es. And here we need to somehow manage to move this line above all others and make ESLint tackle it. Done. Save here we caught the culprit. Good. We'll know. Okay. So we managed it. Let's unlock the variable. Make sure everything is fine. Just need to delete our trash in the form of console logs. So these console logs are unnecessary. And we had some in email. Nice logs, but we did a dir, so returning the variable and waiting for a new email. This, apparently, is an older email. It's from 7 minutes ago, and we need a newer email. Here's the number, its socket. Reduce by 1, and here we have a working link. All right, great. Made a feature for sending emails to our users. Thanks, everyone. We can move on.